Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have one other comment, final comment this evening. Begin that comment with a somber note and would ask that Fire Chief Tony McDowell come to the podium. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the audience, yesterday afternoon, Mrs. O'Bannon, Mr. Schmidt, and I attended a funeral service for Henrico firefighter Kevin O'Connell. Kevin was a well-liked and highly respected 12-year veteran. He was a member of the Division of Fire who passed away unexpectedly on November the 6th. Because of the nature of the event, the funeral, the fire chief wanted to provide an opportunity for as many firefighters as possible to attend. And in order to accomplish this goal, while assuring that calls for service were still answered, a plan was developed and implemented to backfill several of our fire stations with fire trucks and ambulances from neighboring localities. This was accomplished with the support of the City of Richmond, Chesterfield County, and Hanover County. Collectively, these three neighboring jurisdictions handled 58 calls for service in our county, while Henrico firefighters were mourning the loss of their comrade. This level of mutual aid was completely without precedent in our county and represented a tremendous step forward in terms of regional cooperation at an operational public safety level. At this time, I'd like to ask our fire chief to share with the board some of the details about how this level of cooperation was achieved, to include some of the changes that were required to make it possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Manager. You know, I try to be brief with my comments to the board, but I think some context to this is helpful, because what we saw yesterday in terms of mutual aid is unlike anything that I've experienced in my career in Henrico County. And quite honestly, it really shattered some conceptions and some records, and I think some context is important. First, the public safety agencies across Central Virginia do have a long history of working together, and that relationship has grown and become more sophisticated in recent years. If I can share some examples of that with you. First and foremost, this board has provided considerable investments in our public safety radio system. Beginning in 1999, we have one of the few examples that I'm aware of nationwide of a truly interoperable public safety radio system across the entire region. And the board has invested and has continued to invest in the next generation of that radio system, which is currently being built out. In addition to that, regionally, we have developed a regional all-hazards incident management team comprised of law enforcement, fire, EMS, and other disciplines from all the jurisdictions in the region that manages special events. An example of that is the 2015 UCI World Bicycle Championship, where the incident management team was very active and successful in planning and responding to all the public safety aspects of a major regional event. We have been very active in recent years developing regional protocols to standardize emergency operations in things like traffic incident on the interstate, high-rise fires, fires in major buildings, and so forth. We have developed a standardized regional mutual aid policy that's been vetted by all the attorneys and approved. Of course, there's Metro Aviation, and another program you may not have heard about is the once-a-year Metro Richmond Public Safety Leadership Academy. And so all of these are examples of ways that we've really built relationships and created more efficient ways to work together, both in non-emergencies as well as in emergencies. Earlier this year, all of the jurisdictions in Central Virginia came together and adopted a new numbering system for tracking all the fire trucks and ambulances throughout the region, so that you don't have any duplicates. So, for example, the City of Richmond has an engine 5, Henrico County has an engine 5, Chesterfield has an engine 5, and so forth, which made it difficult to work together on emergency incidents without having confusion. By coming up with this regional numbering system, each jurisdiction is able to use their existing computer-aided dispatch system to keep track of dispatch and maintain accountability over all the fire trucks and ambulances that might be coming in from other localities. So last month, Hanover County experienced its own tragic incident when Fire Lieutenant Brad Clark, who's the son of one of our retired battalion chiefs, was killed in a tragic accident in the line of duty on Interstate 295. The Hanover Fire Chief wanted for all of his firefighters to be able to attend that memorial service and asked that all of Hanover County's firehouses be backfilled with regional resources so that there were no Hanover firefighters on duty that day. All the fire stations were staffed with firefighters and equipment from other jurisdictions. The new regional numbering system, the integration of computer-aided dispatch systems, the regional response protocols, our legal agreements, and the interoperable radio system all came together to make this possible, and it sort of opened our eyes. But we never dreamed that here in Henrico we would need the same type of help so soon after Brad's funeral. Yesterday, for a 12-hour period, the entire western half of Henrico County was protected by firefighters and equipment from neighboring jurisdictions. So, as the manager mentioned, our firefighters could attend the visitation and funeral services of their fallen colleague. During this time, the western half of the county's fire stations were staffed with resources from Richmond, Chesterfield, and Hanover County. Those jurisdictions provided a total of 8 fire engines, 3 ladder trucks, and 6 ambulances. And of the 58 calls that they handled inside Henrico County, 14 were handled by Richmond Fire, 20 by Chesterfield, and 24 by Hanover County. I think it's appropriate that publicly I'd like to recognize and thank Fire Chief Melvin Carter from the City of Richmond, Chief Lois Center from Chesterfield County, and Chief Jethro Pyland from Hanover for making this possible. I know that the county manager has already reached out to the chief executives from each of these localities as well. Internally, I especially need to thank Chief Humberto Cardinale and our Emergency Communications Center Director, Stephen Weiss, for all of the hardworking, dedicated members of the Emergency Communications Center for the amazing job that they did of implementing a long list of last-minute changes and modifications which allowed us to dispatch and keep track of all these mutual aid resources. I'd also like to recognize Travis Sparrow and his team from County Information Technology for developing and providing web-based software tools, including incident tracking, an online computer-aided dispatch system for all these units to be able to see their calls, and a customized mapping system with everything including hydrants in it, so these fire trucks from other jurisdictions could find the calls that they were being dispatched to. And so I apologize for being lengthy, but I think this is an important moment in the history of at least the public safety aspect of mutual aid in Central Virginia. And, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd just like to suggest that out of a tragedy came a glimmer of hope and a bright light. The level of regional cooperation and the capabilities that we saw yesterday was truly remarkable. And I'd like to publicly thank and recognize all the members of our regional public safety community for their support, collaboration, and dedication. I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Chief, we thank you for those very fine and delicate words, and also for coming together and again having collaboration after some sad event has taken place. So in the future we'll have this group to be more activated when needed there. And we thank you so much, because this is also a reflection of first responders. They coming out for us sometimes, and this is showing us that we need to prepare to help them in whatever way that we can. This board thanks you so very much for that, and all the team members who played part in this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.